Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. In the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from the Mojoverse to Earth 616 to Counter Earth to nowhere in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
Alliance Assemble, Volume 164. We've got some news this week, ladies and gentlemen, and we've got thoughts. We have a lot of thoughts.
We got news today that within about 5 minutes I had plans scheduled for like 6 months from now, and I'm still like confused at why the whole thing is happening this way. But here we are.
Yep, here we are. But how's your week been, Brent?
It's been good. It's been good. Last week was the warm up week for the craziness of the season. Next week is the main show. So it's all right. You know, it's been good. Can't complain. We got a new staff member this week, and so far it seems like he's going to work out. So can't complain there either. Really, all good.
So yeah, no, I get that you're in education field from a tech side. I'm in education field from the administrative side at that point. So we're all wrapping up the end of the year. This week, just kind of almost like I call it calm before the storm. Have three. This is my last of 3 recordings this week, so they've all been later nights, so I'm a little strung out shape.
I almost asked you what the third one was.
Nope,
it was us. It was us on Monday night. I was like, you last night today? It was us.
It was us. And my week ends with prom on Saturday, so
I'm sorry.
I enjoyed the prom. It's a happy occasion at that point, but I get a little break. Tomorrow night, or if you're listening to this tonight, I will be seeing Fast X. Yes, #family. Yes, I don't care.
Everybody's seeing it before me. Sunday morning.
Sunday morning, I'm seeing it 9:30 tomorrow night at that point. But so next week is even busier. We've got like tons of senior stuff going on. I've got like 3 different senior walks. We go to elementary school, we do a senior picnic. There's a lot of stuff going on. So like I said, this is the calm before the storm. But a lot of happy times ahead. But yeah, I'm already tired. Even thinking about it.
Yeah.
But we've got some interesting news to talk about this week, so let us get into it. So here are the show plugs as always. We are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with 8 shows covering the wide range of geek and nerdom. To see the full schedule, check out the show notes below and subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUA Pod Network so you know when all the shows drop. We also have a Patreon, so if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we've got 2 tiers. We got our $1 tiers, our tip jar to say, hey, you think we're doing a good job, and then our $5 tier with our ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon-exclusive shows, including our show, We Can Watch This All Day, the Marvel Alliance Rewatch. We've got 16 episodes up there, and Brent and I, the beginning of my one of 3 recordings this week was episode 17, Black Panther, and so that will drop next week, I think, right?
The last Monday of the month.
Last Monday of the month. So
it should be a week later.
So
29th, Memorial Day. Memorial Day. You know, you're at
there
home or you're by the pool or whatever. Throw on a little. We can watch this all day. Well, I mean, what's more pool friendly than that? I don't know.
I mean, come on. We do it for you, the patrons, which, as always, we cannot do this without your support. But if you haven't joined us on Patreon, go to www.patreon.com/GUA Network to join our lovely Patreon. We've got DC Alliance guys doing the looking at the DC through the years. We've got the crossover with Multiverse Minutes and the Animation Nation, looking at the Beast Wars franchise, marching to Transformers. So a lot of great content out there. So hopefully you're enjoying that, patrons. But if you can't join us on Patreon, totally understand. But if you can take 30 to 90 seconds and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, we greatly appreciate it. And last but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com, for omnibus hardcover collect edition need. JP and the crew at OPB have got it going on with excellent customer service, immaculate packaging, ships around the world, earn points so you can get discounts off. They were wondering what JP and the crew are running what they call their quote-unquote final sale. A lot of great Marvel omnis at even more deep discounted prices. A lot of great. Hey, look at that, Brent. Spider-Verse.
I mean, you know, it's almost like they know there's a Spider-Man movie coming.
I know it's
and it
almost
really
like
is
that.
soon. Like it's not far away.
It's only a couple of weeks, so
15 days at time of recording.
15 days. Hey, and like we said last
Well,
week.
that's to release it. Like we're seeing it 2 weeks from tonight. Holy cow, 2 weeks.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
fantastic.
Yeah. But yeah, if you decide to use shop there, we hope you do. Use that code MarvelGUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order used in a limited amount of times. And we want to thank them for being our official sponsor. All right, last thing of note before we get into the news, Marvel Alliance is making a small schedule change next week. We will be going live Wednesday night at 9:10 Eastern Standard Time due to co-host switching.
Yeah, it's my fault.
It is Brent's fault at that point. Brent's having a very busy week next week.
I will be at work while you're recording.
Yes, he will. But we will have my original co-host, Travis Snell, will be coming back on to sub in for Brent. And so the original team will be back together for another night, for one night only, I guess as we could say.
Be sure to ask him about what 10 movies are better than Logan.
Oh, trust me, the list continues because remember, we cut him off at that point. So he will add to it. Trust me on that. So we will be going live Wednesday night, 9:10 Eastern Standard Time. The audio will still drop Friday morning. So be on the lookout for that. And when Mr. Snell comes back onto the show, we know it's going to be interesting. So check that out. And I know Brent will enjoy being a listener for 1 week at least.
Yes, I will.
All right, so let us get into the news. So our main topic, this was kind of like a 1-2 punch within a single day. Despite the writer strike that's going on, the networks and the streamers are currently doing what they call the upfronts, telling the advertisers what their plans are for the fall season, what shows are coming up, and so that the advertisers decide how much they're going to buy. And so when Disney came up, you got the Marvel shows coming up, and they dropped a couple of bombshells. The first being our main topic, as you're watching on YouTube, you can see the background. Marvel is going to drop Echo. We got a date for Echo. Not only that, they will be dropping all episodes on one single date. So it's coming out from Deadline. Kevin Feige revealed that all episodes of the Hawkeye spinoff show Echo will drop all at once on November 29th, which is a Wednesday. This is a new thing for their live action, which had previously all live action shows and What If had aired week to week. The only other Marvel Studios property that used this strategy was I Am Group, which was 5 shorts of August of last year. And in Hawkeye, they go on to say, we were first introduced to Maya Lopez, played by Laquela Cox. She will return to get revenge in Echo, a limited drama from the incredible team of Indigenous writers, directors, and cast members. And in a first for us, all episode will drop November 29th. The series centers around Maya Lopez, a deaf Native American superhero who has the talent to imitate any opponent's fighting style. Multiple reports have detailed that there have been some issues that Echo has faced behind the scenes, with rumors indicating that the show went through a number of delays before it hit Disney+. But once the news became more positive about Echo's release not being pushed, the question turned around, when would it actually debut? So there are 6 episodes now confirmed. So it'll be a 6-episode. We don't know necessary runtime, but typically for kind of the dramas that we've seen with the MCU, we kind of expect a range between 30 to 55 minutes at that point. So, this is an interesting choice. We've heard rumors in the sense of, the response to this range from, we should be worried because does this mean Disney does not have much faith in this? Being that they're dropping this all at once, seeing that my more nuanced take is, they may be more worried in the sense of, I kind of relate this to Andor, that when they put out 2 episodes at once, I can't remember, did they put out 2 or 3 episodes for the first one?
Of Andor?
Yeah, Andor.
2.
Okay.
I want to say it was 2.
I want to say it was 2 too, but I know the chat might correct me.
Yeah, someone tell it might have been 3, but...
Well, if it was 3, it should have been 3, but I think, I really think 2, but... This may be a show that it'll be difficult for them if they feel that, it really starts picking up with 3 episodes. Will they drop half the season at once? They may be unsure in the sense of, okay, 3. All in the game says 3. Okay. Because we all saw, like, when you hit that 3rd episode, for a lot of us saying, okay, now we're seeing where this is going. We see what they're trying to do with the show.
That ending of that 3rd episode. Oof, so good.
But also Andor had more than just 6 episodes. So with this one only having 6 episodes, they're going to drop half the season and then have 3 more weeks. They may be worried in the sense of like people dropping off at that point. There is a risk with this in the sense of people binging it all at once, and then the conversation runs out maybe within 2 weeks, more than likely within 2 weeks. So there's that conversation. It kind of rubs some people the wrong way, and I can totally understand this, that Maya Lopez representing, the community that she does, Native American communities that she does, having this be the first one that we're going to do a test run with this it it leaves some people rubbed the wrong way. I don't know, Brent, what are you feeling about this?
Lots of thoughts. Let's just start with that last one.
Yeah.
If somebody feels like it's somehow belittling to a woman of color to do this, I can't argue with that feeling, right? I'm not going to argue with that feeling. I will just say it's not my first thought towards it, but that may just be, my own life experiences, which is as a white man, are going to be extremely different. Okay, just all kinds of questions. Number one, why do you do this during a WGA strike, right? There's the Writers Guild strike right now, which, again, to reiterate, we were both like, support, just pay them, and problem solved. Why do you do this now when you don't? Yes, you may have the show done and in the can, and it could already be locked and everything, but you don't know where you're going to be at in November, right? And even if this strike doesn't last till then, productions are stopping, so they have to ramp back up productions once the strike is over. That's number one. Yeah. Number two, how does this square with the reports that Marvel is slowing down with Good Bob's return to Disney? How does this make any sense? Because looking at the schedule, October 6th, which we'll talk about, but we have Loki, right? November 10th, we have, is it November 10th? November 10th, we have The Marvels. Yep. And November 29th, we have Echo. And for the record, the same day as Loki is Kraven. So, which I know that's not Disney Plus and Marvel Studios, but still, just for the record, it is the same day. But how does that make sense? If you're really trying to spread this stuff out, why are we doing 3 projects in 2 months in the middle of a writer's strike? Yeah. I don't understand. I just don't get it. There's those questions there. Next up, a show like WandaVision or Loki or Moon Knight, those are like mystery box shows, right? Yes. Like there is some sort of mystery that we, the audience, are trying to figure out. And I do think shows like that are heightened week to week, because a lot of the discussion around the show is like, is Mephisto showing up next week? And here's all the clues as to why, times all 3 shows. Shows like Ms. Marvel, which had significantly less of that to it, Falcon and Winter Soldier, which had significantly less to that, and I wasn't Hawkeye. Those kind of shows really aren't mystery box shows. They probably do lend themselves more to a binge style. Like, I think they're better as a bit. I like weekly more, but if you had to pick mystery box or just straight drama, the straight drama is going to be better for binging than a mystery box is. Mystery box needs those time. So this tells me odds are, and we kind of could have assumed that anyway, but there's probably not some big mystery that they're putting into this show. I would not have anticipated that anyway, but now I don't think there is.
From what I've heard from other sources that I trust and you would trust at that point, it wouldn't be necessarily a mystery box. For what I'm hearing is that Maya's also going on a journey herself.
Sure.
Within like her own culture, reconnecting with her culture, and certain individuals at that point. All in the game saying they shot 8 episodes of Echo with Feige reportedly not happy with it, and there was talk of cutting it down to 4 to 6. The show needs every chance to succeed. Not sure if this helps. And I fully agree with. I think was our biggest thing, is like, wait a minute, like you said, we're in a writer's strike. Why are you rushing content unless they are worried about, as I said earlier, they're going to lose people after like 1 episode or even 2 episodes because they just don't feel the show at that point. They have more of a chance of keeping them if it's all on there at once. But again, it's you're pushing all the content out there when you don't know when this strike is going to be over. You've got the Directors Guild debating whether they're going to go on strike. The actors are doing the same thing. You're all at a precipice right now where you're now forcing content out there when earlier said you're going to slow down. I don't see a reason why they needed to do Echo this year unless they have some sort of plan for next year that there was no good way to put this in there. We don't even know when X-Men 97.
Okay, there is a reason.
Yeah.
There is a plausible reason for why to do it this year. So let me come back to that.
Okay.
But the quality question. Yes, there have been reports that Echo's production or whatever, like that Feige wasn't happy, like All in the Game was talking about. If that's true, binging is probably better for the show.
Yeah.
Like you suggested, binging is probably better for the show because when something is week to week, if you're not really into it, it's a lot easier to just forget about it, to fall off. Whereas if it's weekly or if it's binge, it's all right there. You can go through it all. That said, maybe they think if this is like an Andor situation and that if it were 12 episodes, they would repeat what Andor did, drop 3 episodes up front to get you hooked because they know it's a slower build. Binging again, but they're not going to drop half the series, so just do the whole thing.
SBub saying in the chat, to play devil's advocate, if they're releasing everything at once, they can show characters like Daredevil in the marketing without needing to tease them for weeks. Yeah, and I know our brethren over at Geekverse were saying that on their idea. You know, you had Charlie Cox teased in there, but it wasn't until the end of the season. We were basically on Cox Watch the whole time. It wasn't until the end of the season.
So, with that, well, one, I was going to bring that up, but that's related to why you might want to get Echo out this year exactly. Because I think at this point, I still haven't seen anything official that Charlie Cox is going to appear in this, but we pretty much know what's happening, right? And
there are probably a non-zero chance he is not in this show.
Right. And we know Vincent D'Onofrio is showing up in this.
Correct.
And we know Vincent D'Onofrio and, of course, Charlie Cox are both in Daredevil Born Again, which currently they're trying to put out next year.
At least the first half of it, yes.
Which means they might want this show out there and done and available to be watched as lead into something with Daredevil Born Again. I completely could see that happening. And if that's the case, it would make sense to do it. However, that doesn't necessarily necessitate 6 episodes, 1 day binge model, because there's more than 6 weeks between now and next spring when Daredevil was likely going to come out. SBub says that they've read rumors of the exact number of episodes Echo is in. So have I. They were just from sources I didn't necessarily trust. So I didn't know who those sources were. So I'm not willing to just go, I need better sourcing. How do you feel about it personally?
It personally, from a content creator standpoint, it stresses me out.
Oh yeah, we don't know what we're gonna do with this show.
We'll be honest with you guys. Like, we've got Brent and I have basically said we're not making any decision yet. It's not to November. When we get closer, because again, this decision could change. They say it now. There's nothing to say that they can't make a change in what they're doing at this point. This is what the plan is right now. But releasing all 6 episodes on a Wednesday at that point, thank God we're not some of these people that are putting out weekly videos of looking at all the Easter eggs and everything like that. My heart goes out to them for this one, because I don't know if they're going to be able to get that first video out until the next day at that point. But it's one of those things, like, I don't know when I'll be able, obviously, to watch it all. It's definitely not going to be that day. I want to enjoy content. Yes, I want to be out there before the scoops get out, but putting everything, like, I'm not in a position anymore in my life where I can just sit back and enjoy 6 episodes all at once. I'm just not in that position unless I take a day off from work, and I'm not necessarily saying I will and I won't. But that's not advantageous to someone like me. Like, if this were on a Friday, dropping it on a Friday, okay, that makes sense to me, in the sense of I've got a weekend to do this. I can piecemeal it out throughout the weekend and feel like I'm not rushing to get it out, So
for anyone who has maybe listened to Fans Without Borders, and if you don't know what show I'm talking about, it's a podcast I used to do. It ended well over a year ago, and we, for several seasons of the Netflix shows, we would record on Sundays to drop on Mondays. That Netflix shows would come out on a Friday. So we would try on Friday and Saturday to binge the entire 13 episodes of whatever Netflix show was in question. Daredevil, Punisher, whatever, right? That was really, really hard. Like really hard and stressful to get those 13 in that time frame. So from that standpoint, I'm like, oh, that's rough.
Mhm.
As just a straight fan, for me personally, I do prefer the weekly model. I like having it to look for. Oh, this week I get a new episode of Loki season 2. This week I get a new episode of The Mandalorian or whatever the show, or Ahsoka, whatever the show is right now. I really have grown, and it was Mandalorian season 1 that pulled me back to that side of preferring the weekly model. Right now, it's every week. Oh yeah, it's Tuesday. It's Ted Lasso night, right? Like we're watching, like like all about that. We're texting each other. Oh, it's out. We're great. We've seen it. That said, as like a throwback to the Netflix days, one thing I did do and enjoyed doing was for Daredevil season 1. I actually took that day off work. I had other errands to run, but I just said, screw it. I'll take the whole day and I'll watch 3 or 4 of the Daredevils also. I ended up repeating that for several other seasons because it was just fun. At this point, David, who was on a couple episodes, and we have already decided we're taking that day off. Yes, our boss knows exactly what we're doing. We're taking that day off. We've already put in the request. He's going to come over once our kids are at school, and we're just the 2 of us and my wife. We're going to binge Echo, right?
And no judgment. That's
right. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
No, but I wouldn't call it ridiculous. It's just what you like.
Right. We couldn't do it if it was 13 episodes. But for 6 episodes, we will be able to get in the time that the kids are gone at school, and even like take a break to eat some lunch or whatever. Right? Like great, wonderful. Honestly, it's gonna be a lot of fun for me personally. That said, I apologize now for by the time we do review about this show, I will not have seen it 2-3 times like I normally do. Normally, I'm able to squeeze in these episodes at least twice, if not 3 times before we record on it, because they drop Wednesday morning. We don't record till Thursday night, right? Normally I can get a couple of them in, one Wednesday morning, one Wednesday night, and occasionally I get another one depending on episode length. There's no way that's happening with 6 episodes. So I will do my best, and I apologize, but that's just the way it's going to be. I don't want this to be the start of a new trend. When Loki season 1 came out, prior to that, the Disney Plus shows have been on Fridays. Loki came out on a Wednesday, and they moved all their shows to Wednesday drops because it worked so well. Yeah, we'll get there. And I think that's weird too. Yeah. It works so well for that they moved all of them to it. I want this show to be successful, but I don't want them to take away from this show. We should do binge drops all the time. I don't want that.
Well, the other thing, again, with the rumors that, quality is not necessarily where they wanted it to be. It's not necessarily saying it's a bad show, but it's not. They filmed more, as All in the Game was talking about, and then they cut it back, and it's at a point of saying, oh, all right, well, it's okay. It's not our best show, but it's not our worst show either. All in the Game saying in the chat, why not release in January, February at least? Again, it's some of the timing may be off. They want to get it out before, Born Again, but Born Again's not until the summer at that point. With Born Again being, as Bub's saying, with Born Again being 24 episodes, they might do Andor strategy and dropping groups at a time.
Yes, there's Sony movies, but the next MCU movie isn't till, unless I'm completely missing something, isn't till May of next year with Captain America: New World Order. So we'll go from the Marvels to May. Like there's time for some Disney Plus content. Maybe they'll have something else to put out then. But and they're also, they're trying to work around Ahsoka and oh my gosh, what's it called? Skeleton or something? No.
Skeleton Crew.
Skeleton Crew, thank you. Yeah. The Star Wars show I know absolutely nothing about, but I'm going to watch it because I like Star Wars TV more than movies. I said it. Sorry. I don't understand. I don't understand it. It doesn't. This sounds like the last 2 years under Bad Bob, when there were 18 projects in 2 years. That's what this is.
Well, what I was getting at before is just like if the rumors are true and we end up saying it was a good to okay show, is that what we're going to take from this? Is if it's a good to okay show, they're basically going to dump it all at once, and that's what the message is. Oh, if it's an all at once drop, then it must be not the greatest show in the world. If that is what ends up happening, and
people will stop watching those.
Exactly, and it'll do even worse for the brand at that point. So it's just like this is a risky strategy in the sense of is this just because the looking at the episodes they have together are better to watch in a binge format than episode by episode in fear of losing viewers, or you're just trying to basically put out the show, get it out there, get it move on, and forget about it and move on to quote unquote the more. And again, I'm looking forward to Echo. I'm not one of these people that whoever asked for this show, I know what the whole plan is, what they're trying to do with it.
I asked for it.
Yeah. But I'm it's one of those things where I want these projects to be successful. I don't want them to be relegated to second tier status just because we've said it before, we said it again. If you need the time, take the time. There is nothing to rush out. There's nothing to do out. But if we watch it and say, okay, this is why they put it out there. But I guarantee you, even with our next topic, there will be questions asked of Feige during the Secret Wars thing about why this decision.
At this point, my biggest questions are, one, whose idea was this to drop a binge model? And two, who signed off on it? And I know what everyone's thinking. Well, obviously Feige signed off on it. No, not necessarily. He, one, could have just given the leeway to someone to try something. And two, he could have been told, you need to have a binge watch show. Like Bob could have said, I want to try it. But Bob Iger could have said, let's try a binge model for one of our bigger shows. I know they've done it for things nobody's heard of, but for Star Wars, for Marvel, live action, they haven't done it yet. Let's try it for one of them, and then maybe they chose Echo. I want to know the answer to those questions.
Yeah, as Pub's kind of hope. My hopes and prayers is that I think by SDC this date might change, even if it's just that Friday. Yeah, like I said, it's far enough away where they have wiggle room to make shifts and change their mind and make some changes.
Well, that's the other thing. Why announce it this early? I saw it in a tweet from the official Marvel Studios announcing the Loki season 2 day and this. Why announce it so early when you do have this kind of time ahead of it? They could have announced that and used that as an announcement at SDCC. We're going to show you the first trailer of Echo and give you a release date, and that's something they have for that. I just don't get it.
They could have just done the Loki date and not even talked about Echo, because not many of us were thinking until some of the recent rumors saying like, oh, Echo might actually release, but that was it. It was just some scuttlebutt that was going around some of the scoopers saying, I'm hearing it might actually release. There was again, the upfronts are the upfronts, but they still, even if they said at SDCC that's July, they still have plenty of time to make those plays and make those moves.
Jonathan Majors. By giving us the Loki release date, everyone would have been talking about Jonathan Majors. By giving us Echo at the same time, what have we all been talking about? And I'm not saying you and I would have been talking about Jonathan Majors, because we're still officially waiting for something official to happen on that front. But that is where the narrative would have gone. And instead of people asking, what are they doing with him and Loki? People are saying, why are they binge dropping Echo?
But it's, again, not positive talk.
You're right.
That's the thing. That's what upsets me about this, is because it goes in with this whole feeling like, who asked for this show? I'm not excited about this show. It's this, that, and the other. It's not any more positive talk. It's more of just questioning this. It's more questioning the quality of it. I'm not saying those questions and those kind of topics, but it's just like, I want to look forward to the show, and I'm trying to look at it a positive way, but it's just like, okay, we're trying to give cover to the whole Jonathan Majors and Loki situation, so we're going to make another story that no one's happy about right now.
Yeah, and again, just to reiterate, me personally, as a one-off, as an experiment, kind of like Werewolf by Night, I'm into it. Let's try it. Let's see how it goes. I don't want every single Disney Plus show going forward to do this. Don't get me wrong. I will take as many of them off work as I can, but eventually I'm going to get questioned on that. So for now, let's
Brent,
just
you're only showing up to work
one.
every other week at this point. What's going on?
Let's just keep it at the one for now.
All right. Well, we'll continue to monitor to see if they stick to their guns on this. But yeah, so we've let you know your thoughts, and the chat has had a lot of plenty to say at this point. So we will kind of move on from this. We'll take our first ad break for the evening. And listeners, these ads help keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud. Give it that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right. Well, we've kind of danced around it. So at the same time, and I can't even remember what brought this on, which came first, chicken or the egg, but Loki season 2 date announced. Now we talked about this as a rumor as one of our last stories last week. And now it's become official that part of the upfronts, Marvel Studios announced that Loki season 2 will come to Disney Plus starting October 6th. October 6th is a change from when they release new episodes for the Marvel shows. We are now moving to a Friday. At least for this episode, there has been no word to say that all future episodes will move back to Wednesday or they're sticking to Friday. That is a big question that they kind of like left hanging out there that I've yet to find any confirmation on. If all we know is that this is when it's going to premiere, that date.
Wasn't there another show, not a Marvel show, maybe a Star Wars show, that the first episode was on a Friday and then the rest was on Wednesdays?
Kenobi, yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Thank you. I'm still kind of hoping for that because
I am
selfishly, Wednesday drops are better for us in the scheduling of our show. Let's just put it out there.
And
let's just lay it all out there that it's just a better drop day. So, I don't. Other than that, I don't care. I'm just glad it's weekly.
Yeah, and so, like I said, we're kind of waiting for that other part. Okay, it's going to debut Friday. Well, as Brent said, what else is coming out that Friday? Kraven. So, just like the Echo News, no, we at Marvel Alliance right now do not know what we do outside of more than likely we will be reviewing Kraven that Friday for the show hurt. At that point.
Loki's gonna drop and we're gonna be talking about Kraven that night.
Hey, I'm not saying that. More people may want to listen to our episode and our thoughts of Kraven than actually see the movie. It may be one of our biggest episodes at that point.
We'll figure it out, though. Woo. But it should be a fun time if nothing else.
It will be a fun time at that point. But in all seriousness, no, we don't know how this is going to look because again, but now, fortunately, unfortunately, we're going to have to talk about answer the question, at least in our opinion, why October. One, we know, Secret Invasion is coming out the end of June. All right. With that end, those 6 episodes will end sometime in July. You've got Ahsoka following up in August, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I don't know if that's official. I can't remember.
Rumored.
But yes, where's Clay and Katie when we need them? But yeah, I believe Ahsoka is in August.
Yeah. So we get Loki in October. Okay, we're trying to balance that. Okay, there's content for both sides, moving on both sides at that point. But we also know Jonathan Majors' next hearing happens in June. Without commenting on like the future of him as Kang, this is a way for them to play damage control with pushing it as far out as they can because they basically officially said that Loki will be coming out this year, pushed it to the farthest date they could without, just giving them the chance to say if something goes badly and they need to do something at this point, they've got enough distance. And some scoopers have been saying that by the end, from what they're hearing from the end of the episode, the future of Jonathan Majors as Kang will be settled by the final episode. So read it into that what you will. I believe that came from the Cosmic Circus. I understand why they're pushing it this late. It makes the most sense if they're trying to push it. Now, this also happened with a change of premiere with She-Hulk that Brent and I, for the first time in a while on the show, had to watch and review the show all on the same day. So that was She-Hulk for us.
Ahsoka is rumored to be August 31st.
Okay.
Allegedly, there was a leak of that, but not an official announcement yet. And all the game is saying the same thing.
Yeah. S-Bubs does have a solution. As we need to find an early fan screening event for Kraven.
No, I tell you, sometimes those early fan screenings require a lot of jumping through hoops to pull off. Like, say, the Guardians of the Galaxy one did for me, where there was a lot of balls in the air to make that work out. So, am I willing to go through all that for Kraven? I don't know.
Well,
show me a trailer.
We're all craving some Kraven, right?
That's what they say.
What are your thoughts?
It's got to entirely be the Jonathan Majors thing. I don't believe they were really going to go this long, but when would, let's see, Secret Invasion starts in June. Ahsoka, if Ahsoka really is August 31st, it actually does kind of line up from a perspective of let's keep new content coming like in a steady flow throughout the year without overlapping too many things. And obviously, we just need to set aside the whole Echo situation with that. It does kind of line up there, so maybe it makes sense, even with that. Maybe nothing with Jonathan Majors ever happened, right? Like there was never an altercation to begin with, so there was never any room for allegations to begin with, so nothing ever happens. Maybe they would have kept it to come out with this on October. I don't believe they would have last year or the year before. I think it would have been earlier at the same time as Ahsoka. But I'm part of me is a little surprised they weren't going to do Loki in June because Loki in the summertime for season 1 was really successful. That said, we're not in that world. We're in a world where the Jonathan Majors situation is up in the air. And if they're going to do, I see those things that say, oh, like the Jonathan Majors' fate will be revealed at the end of it. And I immediately wonder, is this going to be the same fate that so many people think is going to be for Ezra Miller in The Flash, where they're going to use the magics of time travel and multidimensional stuff to recast the character at the end and basically the final scene of the show? That's how I interpret that. Those messages. I'm not saying whether or not I want to be right there. I'm just saying that's how I interpret it.
Yeah, and this is probably the most we've talked about this situation with Jonathan Majors, and this will probably be the only time until something, more official comes out at that point. Right. But, looking at it as a positive, okay, we have a date for at least the premiere of Loki. We know officially it is coming out this year. Despite everything going on with Jonathan Majors and the ridiculousness that they are going to eliminate him even being mentioned in Quantumania press that it's dropped on Disney Plus and now on physical at that point, it's just like, come on, guys. I get it, but it's just like it becomes kind of laughable. It's like, okay, how can we write this without saying he's in the movie?
Well, let's say he's exonerated. I guarantee they update the description of Quantumania.
You better believe they make that change at that
point. And they should.
But
honestly, from a PR perspective, they're doing it right.
Yeah, and again, from a PR perspective, this makes it right. But I'll look at it, the only positive saying we have a date. This is my most anticipated show, just because of how much I love the first season at that point. And I'm more curious to see like what they're doing, because Loki started our whole kind of journey into what became the multiverse saga. So let's see how it continues and where it leads us to with this. So, like I said, my big question from this is that, okay, we've got the premiere. Do we go back to Wednesdays, or is it all going to be on Fridays, which will further, stress us out as content creators? But like with everything, we will do whatever it takes to bring you the amazing content that we do every single week. So
we'll figure it out. We'll figure out what works best for the show and the network at the time. I mean, we have time to sort that out.
Yes.
I am still hoping that it's going to be like a Kenobi situation. They're going to go Wednesdays the rest of it. But the difference was with Kenobi, wasn't that at like Star Wars Celebration or something like that? Or some big event when they did that?
Yes, I think the people got a even earlier preview, and it dropped shortly after they showed it at Celebration.
Right. And to my knowledge, there's nothing like that.
I think they even dropped it earlier than they thought. I think it even came out like Thursday night, like early at that point.
You're right, because it was like 7 or 8 o'clock my time. I'm like, this is when they need to drop stuff. Yes. It was fantastic. I didn't get up at 4 a.m. or anything to watch it.
Yeah.
Not that I would have, and I did for the rest of the season, but it's the whole situation was weird. I get this info about Echo and Loki, and I'm told about it through this same tweet, and I'm just like, my mind is blown. Like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing here.
Yeah. So, hey, but you know what? MCU and definitely supporting those people who should I go out and watch Kraven or see the first episode of Loki? I don't think the choice is going to be too hard for some people, and I can't blame them.
The only people who would even think about making a choice between that are going to do both. Realistically, they're going to watch Loki and they're going to go see the movie.
We just won't do it on the same day.
I bet a lot of people do, actually.
That's okay. We won't. We've got stuff to do. All right. Well, our next story is coming out of the rumor mill at this point. Going back to Fantastic Forecasting. We've talked about Mr. Adam Driver possibly being cast as Mr. Fantastic, Margot Robbie being cast as Sue Storm rumored, and now we have the rumor mill spinning and saying that Disney might be in final negotiations and with the man who will be playing Ben Grimm, the blue-eyed, ever-loving blue-eyed thing. That would be Mr. Daveed Diggs. Supposedly has been offered the role of Ben Grimm, the Thing. They supposedly made an offer to him, and this is scheduled as of right now, scheduled to be released February 14th, 2025. Diggs, this is coming out of Geeps Vibes Nation. They say Diggs is a very fitting choice for the role of Fantastic Four's resident bruiser, and there are several reasons why the casting makes sense. He's an Emmy-nominated actor, rapper, and Diggs has been gaining recognition as an up-and-coming talent. I first saw him, like many of the world first saw him, when he played in the amazing play Hamilton. They go into saying, Diggs would join a relatively small yet increasingly list of black actors portraying superheroes as a crucial step toward representation. Second, Diggs himself shares a parallel with Ben Grimm in the comics. He as both an actor and as a character, he is Jewish. This aspect of casting is very particular for recent criticisms of Marvel failing to hire actors that align religious faith. Marvel being facing some backlash when Oscar Isaac, who is, they say he's not Jewish, but he does have some of his familiar history with being Jewish, but not like full Jewish at that point. They put those concerns there. But I'm looking at the idea of Daveed Diggs doing it. I've seen him on the shows he's been on. I loved him in Hamilton. He is a very, just saying he's an up-and-coming actor, no, he may have not hit necessarily in the mainstream outside of Hamilton at that point, but the shows he's been in and getting ready to cross into possibly the MCU with this part, I am down for this. I think he can definitely carry this part. It'll definitely bring a good dynamic to this, and I hope this is true. I really hope this ends up being true.
So outside a few voice roles, I've only seen him in Hamilton. Where he was Lafayette, he was Thomas Jefferson.
Yep.
Yeah, I like him. I'm basing this pretty much entirely on Hamilton, but I liked him in Hamilton. I've seen the show on Disney Plus a couple times. Yeah, it's great. He does a fantastic job in it. I would be very interested to see him join the MCU, see what they do there. All in the Game says he was great in Blind Spotting. I've heard of that show, but I have not actually seen it. I'm for this. He's Jewish. Okay, great. Like that was the requirement, right? That's the requirement. Otherwise, who cares? Perfect.
Yeah, and again, like his name has been put around a number of different roles through MCU. So the fact that it's been coming up again, and if this is the role he finally lands, this is great. This is the story that we've said that MCU's gets to finally do what they wanted to do with the Fantastic Four. This is the project that, again, if he's with Adam Driver and Margot Robbie, again, he's with powerhouse actors. He himself is a powerhouse actor. In my opinion, at that point, this is the question is who's they getting for Johnny Storm, because they are really getting some A-list talent for this team.
Yeah, that's the rumors, and I'll tell you that the overall casting I'm hearing for this sounds great. At this point, I just need to know who's going to play Herbie the Robot, and we're good to go.
Keep putting that.
Keep putting it out there. Keep putting it out there.
Make it. Keep on making this a thing, but I guarantee you'll probably still be right. So. All right, so All in the Game saying Blind Spotting was a movie which he wrote and starred in before it became a TV show. Very cool.
Could not have told you that, but I will believe All in the Game here.
So again, a talent in many ways behind and in front of the camera. So, all right, we'll keep our eye on that one. Hopefully we'll get some more confirmation along that next couple of weeks, and then we will end our news cycle with Brent giving us the update for and I'm just going to put this in quote, a very historic week for Guardians of the Galaxy, not just for what it did in the box office, but for recent second weekend drops for comic book films in the MCU.
Yeah, so the Sunday projections for the second weekend were great, phenomenal, wonderful. And then the actuals came out on Monday with what they actually were reported as making. It was even better. So the actual numbers are a 47.6% drop for the second weekend, which is absolutely phenomenal. It made $62 million. That is the third best second week drop in the entire MCU. Black Panther is number one, Thor is number two.
Let's put that out there. Black Panther the first, Thor the first. So this is not just a sequel, but ending a trilogy.
Yeah,
Is
like
able
my
to do
wife
this.
asked me like, what did Avengers Endgame do? And I looked it up and I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but it was like 58, 59% drop, which is still good, especially, when compared to the last couple years of say 60, 65, or in the case of Quantumania, 69.9, just barely edging out 70 there.
But also putting it in perspective of how much it made the first weekend in
Right.
comparison to the next one. Yeah,
Of
always people
course.
got
I
it
mean,
because same thing with No Way Home. Like it made gangbusters and it had the huge drop, but it still, even though it was a drop, it still was making a huge amount of money even the second weekend. But the drop was huge just in
yeah, I
comparison.
mean, in Endgame's case, worldwide they cleared $1 billion that opening weekend. But
Mhm.
regardless, 62 million for Guardians Volume 3. Worldwide is at $545.8 million. It's already eclipsed the entire box office run of Quantumania. It's going to be a good finish. Do I think it's going to hit $1 billion? No, I don't.
No.
We have family coming out this weekend with Fast X. All joking aside, it is going to take the weekend. It's just a question of, are people still turning out to see Guardians? Regardless, it's going to have a good run. It's going to have a great run. It's already having a great run.
It was almost interesting in the sense of like as we were heading towards the openings, like we've heard from some people saying tracking's not looking good on Guardians. Tracking looks, I've seen this happen and they'll never admit to it. But what I'm saying is that what if they were starting to put those stories out there coming from Marvel, pushing down the numbers so that people wouldn't overestimate it to put those we're tracking our internal tracking. They kind of leak that stuff to kind of see and garner the stories just to see this. I could also see them doing that.
I mean, it's possible. Somebody has to be first. Before I would jump to that, I need to know that Disney's done it before. And of course, at some point it would be their first time, but to my knowledge, they haven't done it before. So that's what we need. I would need to see that. And yes, there's always the Disney's projections, but they didn't project. They didn't go super low or anything like that.
Yeah, but give those kind of stories in the sense of like focus on the underestimation, then they overperform, and then the next week and they really overperform. But again, a 47.6 drop. I mean, we even said like last week that thing, if they even stay within the 50s, that's awesome. Like none of us thought they would go under 50 at that point. So again, a great weekend. This is what they needed to do. Those first two weekends at that point, great. It'll have some legs, but again, Fast X will be kind of coming out, and we'll cut some of the legs out from underneath it. But I still think it'll be a decent showing as it marches to trying to doing what it can in the next couple of weeks. But again, great news at that point. So, but all right, we're going to take our final ad break for the evening as we get into listener feedback, fact or fiction, and comic book clubs. So as you know, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud. So give it that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. On the game, yes. The news you're talking about, Brent and I are aware of it, but at the time of recording, we wanted to kind of punch it to next week to give some time to kind of have our thoughts for next week. So we'll be talking about that next week.
I saw a headline for it, and that's all I saw. So I haven't even had time to read an article or anything.
Yeah. But yeah, we definitely saw it, but we'll Travis and I will give our thoughts next week on it.
Which for the audio listeners was, did we hear the news about Jeff Loveless, but Loveness, but that's it. That's all I know. So
yeah. But all right. So questions, listener questions.
First up from Westar, does Loki keep? Do we think Loki's going to keep with the same 6 episode count, and we get a 3-week gap between that and Echo, or do we think there's a chance Loki season 2 might be longer than season 1? I think if it was longer than season 1, they would have announced it when they announced the release date.
Yeah, I think our prediction at this point, we're thinking 6. Anything more, great, but I think they'll stick to at the very least 6.
I think it's 6. I haven't seen that anywhere, but I'm operating under the assumption that it's 6 episodes. Mm-hmm. All right, from Philip Barker, do we think Loki could have released a little sooner? Philip goes on to say, I feel like putting it in October and having it wrap its season as the Marvels comes out, and then all of Echo getting dropped nearly 2 weeks later, almost feels like too much too soon. I imagine with the situation with Jonathan Majors has a bit to play in it releasing when it does.
I think could they have released sooner? they could, but if they're running up against, depending on how many episodes Ahsoka is going to be. I don't. All of us, I think, at least on our network, really don't like two shows going on at the same time, especially on the same day. If that's what's going to happen, so if they could, I think they'd run up against Ahsoka. I don't think it's just great competing with two shows that most people are going to be interested in watching at the same time. So I think that October, regardless, was probably going to be the best bet at this point.
Yeah, two shows is fun, but it does not make any business sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't. We'll watch them both, but one's going to be watched first, and the other one's going to eventually be watched later. So,
all right, final question from Amari Daniels. Let's say Miss Marvel gets a second season. Should the series continue to focus on Kamala's life in Jersey, or expand her role in the greater MCU, depending on her arc in the Marvels?
I think you could do a mixture of both, and I think that's kind of what that show, her first season kind of looked at, in the sense of dealing with Jersey, her coming to terms, but also looking at her cultural heritage. So I think they can do a good mix of both, of life in Jersey and what happens as a result of the Marvels. I think they could do that. I think that's what makes her character endearing. I think that's what I liked about the show, is that there's potential to, I wouldn't necessarily call it just she has to be a street hero. She can be a street hero, but also have these responsibilities on a global scale. So I think they can do a good balance.
So, okay, you know how I say Spider-Man is the hero that just goes across all types of stories,
Yeah.
street heroes to cosmic. He can find his place in all of them. Ms. Marvel, I think, certainly has that capability as well. And thinking about it, her first season was a very relatively grounded and low street level story.
Mm-hmm.
If you overlook the part about time travel that happened in it, right? And so
True.
the fact that happened, the fact that she's going to be in the Marvels, a very cosmic story with an absolute banger of a trailer, I think it could go either way. I would enjoy at least part of it to still be a little down to earth, low level street stuff, but I wouldn't want her to be boxed in to only that, when hers is a character that just naturally can go beyond that. Other characters just don't fit on that cosmic playing field as well, and so they are best at the street levels, like say Daredevil. But I think Miss Marvel could fit in that way, so I hope it expands at least a little bit.
Yeah, I think they can do that at that point. So, but all right. Well, thank you all for the questions. As always, we really appreciate it. It gives them, y'all give us some stuff to think about at that point. So always keep on coming in. And again, even you don't have to wait for Brent's call. If you've got a question, you can reach out to any of us at any point.
Send them in anytime.
Yep. All right. So Fact or Fiction. So I've got the stuff pulled up from last week from yours, Brent, and our good buddy DC Outlaw. So first up, Loki season 2 will tease Deadpool 3. 63% said fact, 37% said fiction. Number 2, Jeffrey Wright will appear as the Watcher in live action prior to Secret War. 69% said fact, 31% said fiction. Number 3, we will see a What If episode with multiple Spider-Man before the series ends. 47% said fact, 53% said fiction. And then our submission from DC Outlaw Crimson Cowl said if/when we see the new Guardians team. Again, the roster won't exactly be as shown in the mid-credits scene, and it'll be after a time skip, so that Phyla will be older. 70% said fact, 30% said fiction. All right, so this week I'm focusing on the Disney Plus shows, namely the shows we've been talking about tonight, Echo and Loki Season 2. So first up, in Echo, Daredevil, Matt Murdock will only cameo in one episode.
Fiction. I think he's in at least 3 episodes. One of those might be end of the episode type thing. He walks in the room and roll the credits. But
Gotcha.
I think he's in it. I think he will appear in at least 3 of them.
I also say fiction on this one. I'm not as big on 3. I say 2. I say 2, and it definitely will probably not be the opening episode. It'll probably be the episode 2 or 3.
Yeah, I could go with that part.
So, all right. Next 2 are about Loki season 2. So, first one, in Loki season 2, we will not see any new variants of Loki outside of Sylvie.
Oh, that's interesting. I'll go fact on that. That's interesting. Kind of played up that angle a lot in the first season. You might be onto something there.
And I think I'm a fact as well, just because that was the gimmick of last season. They were all trying to, the whole idea of the Lokis are the kind of the linchpin, but also the screw ups of every single part that they're in. So what's the new gimmick this time? What is the new thing they're going after? I mean, obviously we got Kang out there. We're going to see lots of variants of Kang. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. And the last one, also Loki season 2 focused. In Loki season 2, we will see new variants of major established MCU characters. So kind of flipping the script on the previous question.
I mean, yeah, one of them might be of King. But in general, I'll say fact. I think that's an interesting idea. I wouldn't mind seeing another variant of I don't know, Captain America or someone.
Yeah, so some like major that would be kind of they're in this episode, like obviously if She-Hulk suddenly appeared in that one, that would count towards that. So I'm gonna say fact in this one just because I think we're really gonna delve into the true multiverse in this season. So it would be kind of a fun thing to see. Let's bring in Wongers. We got to bring in Wongers.
I mean, it is the Wong CU, and there's now been a couple projects that he wasn't a part of, and I'm starting to get a twitch from it. So
yeah. So all right. So I will post those Sunday afternoon. So let your voices be heard on that. And all right. Well, let us get into Comic Book Club. Continuing our journey through Secret Invasion. This week we're looking at Secret Invasion issue number 5. And I have to say right now, this is probably my favorite. This is probably my first, if not second favorite issue of the series. And
yeah, it is really good.
I think the reason behind that is they give enough time for us to check in on like all the major events, like basically the three areas that are going on right now. Even 4, technically, we do a check in with the Thunderbolts. We do a check-in with the Resistance, that's basically hiding out with Fury and the Howling Commandos. We get a check-in with Sword and Mr. Fantastic. We get a check-in with Maria Hill. We get a check-in with the Savage Land. Everyone gets just a even if it's a couple of pages. I think I think they do a good job within those few pages. They do that. I feel satisfied to say, okay, we're moving the story along.
Yeah, and I just right away I really love the way it opens and the manipulation that Norman Osborn does on this on this Marvel scroll, and just basically more or less you can make an argument that he inspires him, but I think he just more manipulates him into bringing out the overall the Marvel goodness, if you will, and forgetting that he's there as part of an invading force.
The probably most frightening page/panels of this was, if you're reading this on Marvel Unlimited, it's page 6 is basically the takeover. It's saying, hey, we're here. We're doing this for your own benefit. We've been here forever. We've wandered around. And what really rang true with this, it was when that preview kind of little viral thing went out today from Marvel Entertainment and Secret Invasion of like who can you trust? We've been around you. I want a moment like this, page 6. I want a moment like this in Secret Invasion, the show, and I think they're gearing up for a moment like that.
Yeah, and they have all these famous people, both real and from the world of Marvel, in it. From Namor and Doctor Doom and Tony Stark and Mr. Fantastic. But there's also like President Biden and Steve Jobs in there, right? All these people, and it's just like, we're here, we're taking over. You are part of the Skrull Empire. You don't have a choice.
Yeah. I like that we're kind of moving the story along with Abigail Brand and Mr. Fantastic and how ticked off Fantastic is with that. But I think my two favorite parts of this were Maria Hill basically giving the middle finger to Skrull Jarvis and talking about the life model decoy. That was a brilliant moment there. And then most heartbreaking moment goes to Clint when Fantastic goes down with whatever weapon he does to reveal who are Skrulls and who are not, to reveal that Mockingjay was really a Skrull, and just the heartbreak on him, and how it ends saying this doesn't end till every single one of them dies, every last one of them. And you know what? I can believe it with what he felt at that moment, thinking he got his wife back with what she revealed, that the only thing they could reveal. Yeah, I can understand that, and I can't blame him, and I'd probably be saying the same thing.
That is such a great moment. Reed is able, because he's Reed, like the Skrulls are using Reed for his brain. He says it a couple times throughout the issue about he is able to determine how to tell a way to make the Skrulls reveal themselves so you know who is who. And that laser blast comes down right as, quote unquote, Thor is about to take off and do his thing. And it comes out and you suddenly see who all is really Skrulls. Emma Frost, Thor, Carol Danvers, etc., who they are, and of course Bobby. And at the same time, like Tony Stark is like relieved that he didn't turn, right? Because last issue and a little bit this issue, Natasha's talking to him, is like, "You're not a Skrull, you're a human." And oh look, it turns out he is.
And I keep saying Mockingjay. I meant to say Mockingbird at that point, but I do find it interesting that it goes back to kind of the opening of the issue where the Skrull who's portraying Captain Marvel really believes and truly absolutely believes that they are Marvel. Like these characters, like you even hear the one who the Skrull is Thor, like they are as much brainwashed as as the ones that they're trying to they are as brainwashed there, and it's just like, man, they're victims as well,
Yeah, the Skrull that was impersonating Sue Storm, she's shocked and surprised to learn that Reed and Sue have children. So you have children, like she didn't know about that. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I gotta say, just in general, Reed was very scary in this one, like the way he was.
Oh yeah,
but it's a side of him you don't see very often, so I did enjoy it.
But yes, all right, we will move on to issue 6. We've only got 3 more issues, so probably Brent and I got to start having conversations about what we're going to be our theme, because the listeners, you all get to choose our next one for this one, so we'll probably start thinking about the theme and the choices with that. But yeah, so bringing episode 164 to a close, a lot of interesting stuff to talk about this week, so I hope you enjoyed that, and definitely let us know your thoughts about that. But Brent, tell people how they can follow you.
Yeah, Brentak Prime at Twitter, Brentak.social. We'll give you links to everywhere else that I'm at.
Yep, and just a reminder again, we will be going live next Wednesday at the same time, 9:10 Eastern Standard Time, as Mr. Snell rejoins the crew here, as Brent is going to be unfortunately working that week. But again, audio will drop as usual on Friday morning. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris Balg. You can follow my other show, World's Finest True Believers, at Finest Believers. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUA Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions for the show. Continue to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever platform of choice may be. Again, want to thank our sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com. Use that code MarvelGUA at checkout for $2 off every single order. Thank you all for listening. Great live discussions in the chat. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right. Well, we are going to put a big spoiler warning. So if you're reading the comics, seeing the news, if you're basically trying to stay up to date on what's going on, or you want to be spoiled for stuff that's going on currently in Amazing Spider-Man at this point, or a major death that's going to happen, cut off now. We'll see you next week at this point. So we're going to give you that big warning because we're going to be talking about it. I know Brent tries to say it, but I think this was something.
This one got through the radar. I saw. It's fine. We're good.
Yeah. So, but all right. So 3, 2, 1. Spoiler alert's going off. Marvel Comics has announced the death of Miss Marvel will be occurring. The issue that is, I believe, next week coming out, Amazing Spider-Man had hinted at issue number 26, saying that they love doing these comics covers at this point. They've done it for the longest time. It's a great gimmick, and it's a cliched gimmick. One of these characters will not make it to the end, and they have all these images of people of possibility who will not make it to the end. Well, Entertainment Weekly. I don't understand why they do this. I mean, I get why they do this, but why they do it even like a week before the darn issue comes out, revealing that Miss Marvel will meet her demise in issue 26 of Amazing Spider-Man. For those of you that don't care about the spoilers of what's going on, why is Miss Marvel in Amazing Spider-Man? Kamala Khan is working with Norman Osborn and Peter Parker at Norman Osborn's new company to keep an eye on Norman Osborn. So she has been kind of keeping an eye on him, but there is a big battle that's going to ensue, and she will meet her end with this. There will be a kind of a la, Fallen Sun, like Death of Captain America, the death of Spider-Man in the Ultimate Spider-Man universe. Now this one in July will be coming out, Fallen Friend, the death of Miss Marvel, and they premiered the cover on that. And people are like saying, well, what the heck is going on? Because we just had her show. She's going to be in the Marvels. Why are they killing off this character? Well, as we both know, characters only stay dead until the story that brings them back alive. And the fact that G. Willow Wilson, one of the co-creators of this, is helping to write this Fallen Friend issue, there's a plan to bring her back. And my theory on this one is they're going to bring her back, as S-Bubs is saying in chat, preparing for MCU synergy, to make her no longer Inhuman, but to put her in the mutant side of this.
Which was the original intent.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and go into that, basically, the original intent was, they've said, like, we were going to make her be a mutant, and then we were told, no, but she can be an Inhuman. Because at the time, Marvel was propping up or at least trying to prop up the Inhumans, while, downplaying the X-Men because of merchandising deals with Fox over licensing for the movie stuff.
Yeah.
I want to point out a few episodes ago, episode 160, we were asked about this cover and this issue by the Academy Rewind, who said, who do you think will die in the Amazing Spider-Man 26? And will anger fans so much that the editor told Zeb Wells not to go to conventions anytime soon. I don't remember my exact words, but I'm pretty darn sure I said, well, these people are certainly safe. And I just ticked off, like the heroes on the cover, including Ms. Marvel. Oh, got that one wrong.
And I will say, since I've been keeping up, Brent's only 3 months behind that point, but my opinion of this Zeb Wells, I like Zeb Wells as a writer. I think in my opinion, this is not his best outing. This series I have not been happy with the series as a whole. I've read some great stuff by Zeb Wells. This just is not it. What are you feeling about this, Brent?
For me, in like the Spider-Man history of runs and stuff, this isn't one of the great ones. It's going to go down as a run that it's fine. Like, it's all right. Is it one that I'm going to specifically want to reread time and time again? No, it's not. But I'm so far, and I'm not done with Dark Web yet. So far, I am not as offended as so much of the internet is that I just keep seeing people trashing it, and I don't think it's that. I don't, and I would genuinely tell you if I did feel that way, because there are comic book runs that I do feel that way about that I just think are absolute garbage. And if it's not a Spider-Man one, but if that's what we were talking about, then fine, I would talk about it as such. But in this case, it's just fine. It's not great. It's not horrible. And the problem with being just fine, it's also not memorable. So
no, and again, like people jump, oh my gosh, how are you killing? She's killing her. She's the first kind of major Islam focused character, superheroes at this point. I'm telling you right now, hashtag Chris told you, she will be brought back and she will be a mutant. That is my shot I'm taking at this point. I'm not the only one saying that, but I will. If she's not going to be a mutant, I'm telling you right now, Miss Marvel will be reborn. She will not be permanently dead.
And this issue comes out this month, right?
Next week.
Okay, next week. She'll be back before the Marvels is in theaters. You think they're not going to have a Miss Marvel on the cover of a series when the Marvels comes out? She will be back in a few months as a mutant.
Yeah. Because again, right now, even though we have the march toward the fall of X at this point, maybe the possible fall of Krakoa, there's a rebirthing process at this point. So if you enjoy Judgment Day, well, you don't have to be a mutant to be reborn anymore.
I don't know if this is a popular opinion or not. I guess you're going to tell me, but I'm just, I'm not like reading the pages in depth and stuff. Or I mean, it's
Yep.
mostly just there's not a lot of text on these preview pages, but the Gold Goblin is still there,
Yep.
and I kind of like that story. I'm like, it's interesting so far to me. I'm kind of digging it. But yeah, eventually I want him suiting back up in the green. Don't get me wrong, but for right now, it's kind of interesting to me. I won't lie.
Hey, guess what? There's a red goblin going around, and it's not necessarily who you think it'd be.
Yeah,
So,
I like goblins. Spiders, goblins. It works out.
and clones.
Oh, I love clones. Clones are the best. I need a clone of Green Goblin to face off with Spider-Man's clones.
But all right. Well, again, like I said, I personally I don't like it when they break news like this even before the issue drops. I understand if they drop it the day the issue comes out. Guess unavoidable. It's already out there, but let's do better a little bit before we start ruining an issue that hasn't already come out yet. But anyways, we'll see. But again, she's coming back. She's probably going to be a mutant. This is the gimmick they like running. But here we go again. It's like that GIF. Ah, shoot, here we go again.
Yep,
So,
yep.
all right, guys. Well, we will catch you next week again, Wednesday night, 9:10 Eastern Standard Time. And Mr. Snell will be joining us. So catch y'all later and stay safe out there.